And you have to remember that that is the driver of war. This, what we call, or Eisenhower called, the military industrial complex, is this peculiar slime mold of billionaire elites. You think of BlackRock, to which, well, our government is sending a lot of money to Ukraine. Somehow BlackRock owns about a third of Ukraine at this point. They're also a major shareholder in many of our military industrial corporations like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, etc. I don't have the list which ones are BlackRock, which ones are Vanguard, which ones are State Street, but this is as like a creature that's taken on a life of its own. What you really need is the vampire slayer to come with the steak and the garlic to put this rotten system to rest. Their view is they would be perfectly happy to risk the annihilation of the entire human race in thermonuclear war by pushing Russia past the point of no return. And, unfortunately, we have a lot of very arrogant, maybe younger people, or people who are just too arrogant to care about history and cultural differences. So they don't understand the Russian mindset. First of all, you would have to remember that the Soviet Union lost 27 million people in World War II. So the idea of never again is something that they are very committed to. And Putin made this very clear the day before he began the special military operation in Ukraine, where he had warned in December that it was not acceptable for Ukraine to join NATO. It was not acceptable for NATO to place nuclear weapons in Ukraine right on Russia's border, and that he would not tolerate ethnic cleansing of the Russian-speaking people in the Donbass. So what did NATO, Biden, Boris Johnson do? They urged the Nazi-infested Azov battalion, the Ukrainian army, which had been trained by NATO and the US and UK, to mass tens of thousands of troops on the border with the Donbass to prepare for an attack. Russia also moved onto the border, and we kept hearing about it from Biden. If you remember, Russia's going to invade Ukraine. It's going to occur on February 20th. It's going to occur on February 17th. He was giving us precise dates. I later realized the reason he was able to do that was because the NATO forces and the Ukrainian fascist military were planning to do a full-on assault in that region at that time. They shelled Donetsk, the city of Donetsk, with 1,600 shells in just a few hours. And so Russia took action, and they found a lot of documents showing that there actually was a full-scale assault plan. So Putin was correct. Putin also made, just prior to that, a short video where he said, and unlike the US, Russia has a no first use doctrine. So they say, of nuclear weapons, they say that we will not use nuclear weapons unless there is an existential threat to Russia. And that's, pretty clear. They've also include if you are going to eliminate our ability to launch a second strike. So attacking their radar facilities would fall under that category, I believe. So what happened is that Putin made this video saying, if we are pushed to nuclear war, we in Russia, everyone will be dead. We in Russia will die as martyrs, and everyone in the West who did this will burn in hell, basically. Now, when you decide that you are going to be a martyr, there's a certain kind of peace that comes with that decision. You say, I may die, but at least I'm going to heaven or wherever. So the idea of the West to say that Putin is bluffing means that you have absolutely no understanding of the Russian Orthodox Church or this view. And therefore, it is extremely dangerous right now. This invasion of Kursk, where apparently the Ukrainian troops, who are intermingled with many Western troops, mercenaries or maybe otherwise, I hope not, were using very advanced AI. They were getting computer generated images of where the Russians were not going to be in the future. That is, it wasn't only satellites showing real time, but showing what the computer, the robots, or the AI determined the Russians were likely to do based on patterns, profiles, etc. And this is why the Ukrainian army was able to grab so much territory. Russia is repelling them. They are not going to succeed. They're not going to take Russia. Russia has vastly more manpower and more resources at its disposal, and the Russian army is marching through Donetsk at quite a pace. And as you may have heard, they just knocked out a whole bunch of energy and water infrastructure surrounding Kiev. Maybe Lindsey Graham can't go back there again. So this is really dangerous.
You've been listening to candidate for U.S. Senate in New York, Diane Sare, and the Live1.tv Town Hall. You can follow Diane's campaign by going to sareforsenate.com. And don't forget to follow Live1.tv, accurate source of information on government, politics, and art.
So this is really dangerous, who can just blow up the whole region by starting a war with Iran, with Hezbollah. Now he's invaded the West Bank, killing a bunch of people, even as he continues this genocide in Gaza.
You've been listening to candidate for U.S. Senate in New York, Diane Sare, and the Live1.tv Town Hall. You can follow Diane's campaign by going to sareforsenate.com. And don't forget to follow Live1.tv, accurate source of information on government, politics, and art.